I originally planned this to just be an ordinary commentary, but since I just recently reached over 100 subscribers, I decided to use this video as an excuse to make it special. To start off, I'm deeply grateful for the support I've gotten from my fans who followed my channel. Although it's not much, doing the things I enjoy doing and enjoy showing those stuff to you guys is just enough for me to care for. So the series is over, guys. JustANimation is finally done with its final episode comeback out right now, which you can see right now on this channel. Wow, 5 years. Damn, that's a big number. Pretty good one, yeah. I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did, to be honest. Man, a lot of memories, yet a lot of missed potential too. For this video, I wanted to highlight each and one of the episodes of JustANimation in which I talk about the origin of each one and what I originally planned out before scrapping it. Starting off with episode 1, the one that started it all, rough stuff. Of course, my biggest inspiration for the series was Ed's World. With its world building and humor, I basically just imprinted it into the series. Yet I was also inspired by Friday Night Funkin' when it came to designing how some of the characters would look like, those being John, Mike, and Brandon. While for episode 1, I don't think I had any ideas that didn't make it into the final episode. I think one thing I had in mind was that I really wanted to do a skit in which I will focus on the dog and where he was. I didn't end up doing it because, well, I never had time to actually start filming it, and plus, I wasn't of course a good actor. Me being a kid and all, this would have just ended up being cringe to rewatch over the years. My favorite episode of the series, Camp Hell, definitely had a lot of scrapped ideas, mostly being because I was on a tight-ass schedule trying to get everything done. This being, of course, a Halloween episode, being released on the same day, I decided to start production on animating everything the second week of October. I don't know why. For what those ideas was, the ending for Camp Hell was obviously still not finished even after release. Episode 2 had a different ending in mind, in which the antagonist of the episode was going to have a voice actor. We had lines done, too. But I don't know what happened, but for some reason, I lost it all. And by the time I needed him to redo more, it was too late, and I needed to think of something quick. But how the ending was going to go down, it was basically just a rehash of that one Smiley Fern episode, the Halloween one, in which the gang was going to beat the shit out of him by the end. This episode did have a lot of issues for me, but overall, I still do love this episode. Episode 3 as well, I had plenty of scrapped ideas that didn't make it to the final cut. I included multiple cameos or references to other medias, those being either old friends or famous videos. This was during the time where I started to draw down more concept ideas, which is ironic because neither of them actually made it into the actual episode. One being that Carvel was originally supposed to have his own crew, one actually making it into the episode as a short cameo. Not the best quality, but still. Not only did I make a whole crew for Carvel, but I made both design versions for each of them, depending on how I wanted the atmosphere to be for the episode. Same as Camp Hell, Freak Show Funhouse was supposed to have a different ending, where the whole circus would have basically been caught in a crossfire, somewhat being the same as Lululand. To be honest, I believe episode 3 was going to be a 1-for-1 copy of that episode, obviously with Carvel's design being an exact copy of Fitzgerald's. Off topic, but this is when I went back and forth on the idea of Brandon eventually leaving the group. I was basically building up to it. I wanted it to be emotional by the time we got to episode 5, so that's why I gave Justin and Brandon more of a brother chemistry in this episode, which I failed to actually show. Now, episode 4. That's a funny one, because the story that I went for that wasn't really my idea. Well, yes, the whole clone story, of course, made it into the final part. It took such a different route after the second half. The first half of the episode, all my ideas for that definitely made it in, with the whole trio getting the clone machine, with the whole reason being that Justin was bored, as well as the subplot of the guys trying to teach the clone how everything functions around the world. It's just when we get to that damn second half, that's when everything changes, with the inclusion of Dan 100 wanting to stop the clone, and the twist being that it was an alien the whole time. Which I don't know why the fuck I included that, to be honest. Shock value or what, I don't know. I honestly don't know why I actually changed the story for episode 4. I wanted to do a crossover episode with my friend, yet looking back, I don't consider Tales of Two Dudes to be a crossover episode, just an average episode of Just an Animation. I don't even think it should be considered a crossover episode. For what I really wanted the story to go down for episode 4, for the second half, it was originally going to go down that after the clone was taught, he would see the errors of the world wanting to dictate it. So he was going to create more clones of himself, creating an army. Basically, the route was that he was going to become a literal clone replica of Hitler. Yeah. Looking back, I'm honestly glad I didn't go with that corny plot. I was going through a personal struggle in my life, so that may explain the 14-year-old wannabe edgy premise. Also, for the exclusion of Mike in this episode, it's due to the actor or actors not wanting to be a part of the show anymore, which is why I voiced most of the characters in this entire episode. Halfway through the series with the 5th episode reunion, it's kind of funny because the minor role that Jack had in this episode, I originally intended someone else to play that part, since he was heavily involved with helping me animate both 4 and 5, but we sadly shifted off. He was so involved though that there was actual concept and posters made with his character still attached to the project. Not only that, but I also intended him to become one of the newer members in the main groups, but of course that didn't end up happening. It's actually funny because I decided to give him a brief cameo in the recent episode of Just an Animation where you can see him in the background behind Mike. Focusing in the actual story, I for some reason included a new character named Justin, how original, who was the polar opposite of Justin's character, who was so close to make it in the actual episode since he was still in the early productions as well as the posters. Although they were brief characters, they originally had a slightly bigger role. I took inspiration basing them off of Eduardo and John from Eddsworld. I think my biggest regret when making Reunion was the whole skip through of the whole party, even though I feel like everything was building up to that moment specifically, in which I kinda was. For what I wanted to do in the party scenes, I was going to do some big epic boss battle where a party animal demon will wreck the place and try to ruin the party. That's until Justin and Brandon would get involved, putting an end to his terror. In this situation, Brandon would have started to get tired of fighting, basically leading to him leaving at the end. I was leading to an epic final battle for the mid-series, but I got hella lazy and skipped through everything. Oh yeah, Edgar from Eddsworld makes an appearance with him being passed out on the lawn. Don't know if that's appropriate or not, but yeah. Moving on to Movie Magic, one of the only out of 100 upcoming episodes that actually got to see the light of day. To be fair, this was the only episode I was actually excited to work on, and unlike the others, where I was kind of forced to spit on multiple other animations every year that didn't go through. Fuck, man. Episode 6 was supposed to be a start of a whole new era for new episodes of Just an Animation. But the reception it got in didn't really help out, basically canning everything. Womp womp. Discussing the actual episode though, I think this one and Rough Stuffs are the only episodes where my full vision actually made it into the final cut of the episode. Well, other than the montage scene, where I just took parts from the Aftermath trailer and added them to the episode. To be fair, the Aftermath trailer didn't even serve the purpose and wasn't even leading to anything. I just made up multiple scenes and hoping I will fulfill it in the future. Oh yeah, Mike was supposed to have a different voice actor by this one, played by Skimpson. You could check him out right now. But he declined. Okay, this is a big one. Depending how much I can remember, obviously comeback took longer than expected, almost 3 years by now. This episode I really wanted to take in a whole new direction, making it special for me. So I took time with the writing, since originally it was just going to be a comedy thriller, basically parodying season 7 of The Walking Dead or Ozymandias from Breaking Bad. Yet I wanted to do something different and make it great. This was during a time in my life where I felt I was limiting myself and wanted to do greater things. And that's when I used comeback as an excuse to do all that. With better animation, a decent lore, as well as including stakes for the characters. It was new to me, but I feel like I pulled it off greatly. I made multiple iterations of the story and how it will go down. The 2 guys would have still been kidnapped, yet what's different with this version is that they aren't the only ones there. 4 more other people were going to be there. This version of the script is way more connected to the previous episode, with Russell tracking down Justin and John to pay them back the money they took from them after the movie bombed. Russell and his gang were supposed to be members of the cartel, who John would have dealt with, leading them to this mess. This storyline, John wouldn't have died, but instead the 4 random people that were there would. This would have gone down the same as the official episode, but instead the twist would have been even bigger, with it being revealed that John and Brandon were included with helping out Russell long ago, which would eventually lead to the scene of him dying right after, somewhat making more sense for Russell to have killed him instead of Justin. Comeback went through a lot of changes throughout its production, even before I even started, with the whole title itself being part of an entirely different episode in which the trio would have gone on a road trip to find Brandon again, yet after they found him, he wanted nothing to do with them. This would have been a 3-part trilogy, all leading up to Fallen Trio, the biggest episode ever, that we planned out with a first draft script, multiple trailers for it including many previous characters just as Jack, Kaden, and even Russell, who would have been the center of the plot. I'll get to that after I'm finished, but yeah. Also, Russell was gonna have a different voice actor, but damn, that dude left my ass on red. What a bitch. But with Gavin on board, he was such a huge upgrade to who I had in mind. I don't really have much to say for APEC and you, besides the fact that I wanted to redo the episode since I didn't like how sloppy it was, being my least favorite in the entire series. So, I want to do a lot more for the show of JustANimation and expanding its world with more episodes than just 7. Having a lot more planned, but the issue being that I started losing interest in it. I was busy with stuff outside of animating. I really wanted to do a lot more for it that I ended up scrapping at the end. Having an idea of doing a direct sequel to Campbell called Night Terrors, focusing on a whole new character voiced by Colinos, where he would have been hunted down and stalked by the killer, as well as an action episode where all the characters are on a train fighting one another, being inspired by Bullet Train, having a full cast and everything ready. Plus, an actual crossover episode with JustANimation crew facing off someone from the plushie guy world. We planned Mike to become a future antagonist where he would have gained powers from a retired superhero, in which he would use for tyranny, as well as a spin-off explaining the world of JustANimation by making a parody of The Boys, where Mike would have been a part of, and many, many more. But the biggest one of all was the big lead towards Fallen Trio. There's much to explain, so I'll just show the script I made that we had in mind. I'm sure there was way much more that I forgot, but that'll do for today. I'm once again greatly appreciated for those who stayed for the entire video, as well as getting me to 100 subscribers. I do hope to make more videos like this, but of course show more animations, separated from the show. Depending on when this video comes out, my new miniseries Squid Game may or may not be out. If it is, please show support and consider joining to help make it the rest of the episodes. If not, please also show support when it premieres. Once again, thank you all, and I hope you will.